Hello, everybody, and good evening. We'll get started pretty quickly. I'm just going to wait a few more moments while others are logging in. Just a side note, I want you to all know that you do have to log in for YouTube in order to ask any questions for the chat. So we'll get started in about a minute or so. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If for some reason the connection does break up a little bit, I'm in Colorado currently, and the internet is going in and out every once in a while. Just know that I do have another presentation that's done previously that I'll send out, but I'm going to hope for the best, and hopefully you all can hear me well, and we will answer questions at the end of the presentation. It should be about hopefully 25 minutes tops for the presentation, and then we'll be able to answer any questions. So we're just going to go ahead and kind of give you a brief introduction of SACI and talk about the programs as well as our locations and collaborations and opportunities that we have, and kind of show some photos of the studio spaces and our facilities as well. So really quick introduction. My name is Kristen Chartier, and I'm the graduate admissions counselor here at Studio Arts College International, also what we like to call SACI. SACI was founded in 1975 by Jules Madoff, who was a really well-renowned painter. He's located in Florence, but he was originally actually from California. So he went to Florence, studied Renaissance art, really felt inspired and wanted to have other students have the same opportunities he did. So he founded the SACI in 1975 for students to study abroad. It was really picking up, so we actually created a graduate institution for students as well. Our grad programs are about 10 years old, and we'll go ahead and kind of give you an overview of all of the programs. So we have about 6 programs, which we're going to go more in depth in. We have the MFA, which are all 2-year programs. So the MFA in photography, communication design, art, the MA in art history, which is going to be 1 solid year. So it'll be in the fall, spring, late spring, and summer, as well as Post Bac in studio art and Post Bac in conservation, which is also 1 year. We also have undergraduate programs too, which is going to be for study abroad for undergraduate students. So first, we're going to talk about the 2-year MFA programs. So for communication design, we'll speak to that first. Candidates The evolution of communication design from its roots in Western visual convention to current trends and processes. They are encouraged to adopt and incorporate into their own way of working practices from both old and new disciplines. So, our MFA communication design really incorporates graphic design, information design, visualization, branding and advertising, infographics, typography, illustration, and interactive web design. So there's a lot of opportunities to really hone in on your craft and kind of find your niche, but as well as be educated in all forms of the design aspects. We also have photography. So during students' first year, students put together a program that balances independent study with classroom study. And then this is pretty much for all the MFA programs. Students are going to emphasize their career options for their. So for the MFA, the curriculum is founded on the belief for photography that graduate students should concentrate in one area, experiment in others, and complement their studio work with art, historical, and other academic studies. So although you're focusing on black and white, digital, or analog, our students in photography also have the opportunity to take courses in etching, serigraphy, ceramics. A lot of students take animation, digital multimedia, video, performance art, just to kind of hone in on their craft and accentuate it as well. We also have the MFA in Studio Arts, which is going to incorporate weaving, paintings, ceramics, definitely different mediums. The benefit of the MFA Studio Art program is that it is about 12-to-1 student-faculty ratio. So you have the opportunity to really work with your program directors as well as your professors to kind of mix and match mediums and really expand upon your artistic talents. We also have etching, of course. The 4 study proposals you'll have to do 1 in each semester. So traditionally for MFA Studio Art students, they will come in and have a study proposal for each of their semesters on what they're looking to study and what they're looking to get out of their semester. We also have ceramics and we also have sculpture. For our MA Art History, we have different major disciplines that students can get an emphasis within. SACI's MA in Art History program offers students, including those intending to pursue careers as art historians and educators. So it's a really unique opportunity to achieve your master's degree in a year-long study. Like I said, it was fall, spring, late spring, and summer. And you're going to be pursuing it in the Renaissance, which is pretty much where modern art continues to flourish. So SACI Florence is located in the heart of the Renaissance. That's Florence. We're about 5 to 10 minutes away in walking distance from the Duomo. So our students in MA Art History are really seeing artworks, not only in museums, but in the venues for which they were intended to. So churches and other public buildings, squares, gardens, and even private homes throughout Italy and elsewhere in Europe. Our students really partake in a lot of adventures, to say the least, for the MA Art History. And these are some of the pieces located in Florence in the Uffizi. For Post Bac Conservation, you're going to work firsthand with faculty and art interpreters. You have about 300 to 350 hours of practical training. The opportunity to receive an Italian state certification for conservation cultural heritage works is very easily attainable. Also, there are field trips to the Vatican Conservation Laboratories and to the ICCROM in Rome, and painting reproduction studios in cities like Verona and Milan. So the curriculum for the Post-Bac Certificate Program in Conservation is founded on the belief that advanced conservation students should really specialize in studying conservation areas. So students have the opportunity to really hone in on paintings on wood panels and canvases, wood, like the sculpture in the frames, They can work with paper, murals, textiles, and archaeological artifacts. And this photo is actually of one of the churches that there was a flood in Florence, I believe it was around 2009, that really hit hard. And unfortunately, this church was pretty devastated by the water damage. And our students actually went into the church and were able to restore it. Graduates of the program have gone on to earn diplomas and advanced degrees in top-ranked conservation programs at New York University, UCLA, Getty Museum, Queen's University in Canada, Hamilton Kerr Institute in the UK, University of Bologna in Italy, and just a lot of other places, to say the least. And you can see some of our excavation work that students have completed as well. We also have the Post Bac certificate in studio art. So here you have the opportunity to really hone in on your craft. You can see drawing, painting, printmaking, ceramics, photography, video, and digital multimedia. These are the same kind of course options that our MFA students have the discipline in. So the nice thing about the Post Bac program is you'll have a demonstration of thorough understanding of contemporary concepts. So you're really going to know critical theory and art historical context and generally how they all relate to your own conceptual practice. So there are many options in both academic and career settings open to students who successfully complete this program. So some students have entered specialized apprenticeships and others have continued formal study at the graduate level in Europe or throughout the United States. And this program is a 30-credit program. All of our post-bac programs are around 30 credits. Our MA Art History is 36 credits, and our MFA programs are around 60 credits. One last thing before we actually move on, I'd like to talk about is the field trips. So I know we'll talk about this a little bit more too, but I think it's important to know that you'll have a lot of all of your studies, and we'll kind of touch base upon that. So you're not only going to be learning within Florence and within Italy, but also throughout all of Europe. But we'll talk about that here in a second as well. So for our locations, SACI Florence is located in 3 distinct locations, 2 within Florence, which are our graduate and undergraduate locations, and 1 within New York City. So this is our Chelsea Gallery in New York City. So our New York City office is located in the Chelsea Art District, right by the High Line and amongst other professional galleries. This is where our admission space is located, as well as where alumni have the opportunity to apply for an exhibition upon graduation. So you can see some of our student artwork. After you are an alumni of SACI, you can actually apply to have an exhibition in our New York City Chelsea Gallery. We also have the Palazzo dei Cartelloni. This is housed in the center of Florence, about 5 to 10-minute walk from the Duomo. So the Palazzo is home to our university offices, as well as where the majority of undergraduate classes take place. A really fun fact about this building, it was actually once home to Galileo's pupil, who sat by him at his bedside, and pretty much upon death as well. This building was made to commemorate his honor. So you can kind of see the bust of Galileo and the 2 scrolls written in Italian. Also, the woman who sat for the Mona Lisa, this was her family home. So you can see how the culture and history is still represented and existing all around you within Florence and at SACI. And this building is really, really quite large too. Here you can see one of our classroom spaces. This is our library. You can kind of see the stairwell. Right? There's lots of books here. And if there's a book that you need that is not at our local library, we have a university that has it for you. We also have gallery exhibitions here with renowned local and student artists. This is something I'll mention quite frequently throughout this webinar, is regardless of what program you are in, like MFA or the post-bac, you will need to have your own exhibition at the end of each second semester. So basically, you'll have 2 that you'll have to complete, but a majority of our students actually do around 5. And here you can see our outside garden, which is pretty much our courtyard, where we have garden parties and exhibition parties take place. Also really nice green area just to kind of relax and soak in the sun and get away from there's a hordes of tourists. You can kind of get a chance to relax here. The courtyard is much larger than this photo leads onto. It's a really, really nice area for our students. And then the Jules Madoff Palazzo. This is home to our graduate programs and studios, and it's about a 10-minute walk from the main building. Here you can see some of our studio spaces. Some offer beautiful views of Florence and the countryside. As a student in MFA and in the Post Bac, your own studio spaces. Here you can see a little bit of our computer labs. You can also see our fresco rooms, which are right onto the walls. We also have our gallery space where students have the opportunity to hold their exhibitions. Like I said, it's required for MFA for both first and second years. You're not confined, though, to doing it within the university buildings. Majority of our students actually work with the Florence art galleries in the nearby area, and they showcase their exhibitions there. So we're pretty well known within Florence, and it's such a collaborative community that it's easily accessible to have your own art gallery showcase outside of our university settings, which is something really cool to put on your resume and have for your portfolio. And we also have another garden area for students to relax and hold their exhibitions, which are open to the public. Another thing I want to mention is since we are really part of the community, we do have open studios. So as a student, you will have throughout the year the opportunity where the community can come in and see your work, which is really, really nice because this is going to allow you to be able to speak as an artist for yourself and to talk about your work as well. For on-site experience, access, and collaborations, this is kind of this is my favorite part of the piece, is being that we are so close to the community of Florence, and artist talks are really common, as well as collaboration with top brands throughout Europe and the US. Collaborations include Salvatore Ferragamo. So I'll go through a few of the collaborations. We have Salvatore Ferragamo, which was our fashioning spaces. This is where students Salvatore Ferragamo Museum in Florence to develop effective storefront and museum design displays. So if you have not heard of Salvatore Ferragamo, he's a pretty major Italian designer in Italy. And if you're walking through New York City ever on Saks Fifth Avenue, fancy little street, you'll be sure to see Salvatore Ferragamo. We also partnered with the Galleria dell'Accademia for our SACI MX Designing the Museum Experience. So SACI was asked to examine museum frameworks and determine how to provide a better experience for visitors attempting to view the artwork within large crowds. Also, what the academia saw was there were a lot of tourists and individuals coming to the museum, but they were just seeing the David and then they were leaving. And there's just so much more artwork to really take in at the academia that they reached out to our students and our institution. And what our SACI students did was they didn't only, like this photo is showcasing the logos that they designed, because they also assisted with their merchandise as well as their website design. So our MFA communication design, since really this was their bread and butter, but also they worked with the MA art history students to kind of learn more about the pieces and how to describe all the works within the academia. So on the app, you would see a map and then you could click on the pieces. And so therefore the visually impaired were able to listen to the descriptors of the artwork as well as the history and get a sense of what they should be seeing. So it was really allowing other individuals to enjoy art to the same full potential. SACI has also curated symposiums with NASA to speak upon the developments and relationships between the arts and sciences and how we can all collaborate. Galileo to Mars was a forum including guest speakers from NASA astronauts, engineers, artists, and architectural designers with more than 275 artists, scientists, educators, and designers being present. Also, for the spring 2019, we have a new class that's called Without Limits, which is an interdisciplinary design course developed in collaboration with Denise and MIT's Age Lab. So it challenges students to rethink fashion while simultaneously integrating protective technologies for the aging population. And for field trips. So this photo is it was within Venice, and this is supposed to represent the Venice Biennale. So the Venice Biennale is a large event for students to take part in. The Venice Biennale was founded in 1895, and it focuses on cutting-edge contemporary artistic practices. So curators, theorists, and artists all partake in this event, and it's a great opportunity for students to network as well as research new artistic trends. So you can see some of the canals in Venice. Our students really, really enjoy this, and this is traditionally incorporated within your student fees as well. There's also the Paris Photo Festival. So this is the largest international art fair dedicated to the photographic medium. So our photography students always really love visiting this. Also, other students are more than welcome to join, but it is pretty much mandatory for our photo students. And it's over 200 exhibitors from all around the world are going to be present. And so it's just a really great opportunity to network and kind of see what is on the up and coming, kind of see the past, the history, and the future all in one. So I know I've shown this photo, it looks pretty similar. So there are lots of local field trips to take part in, such as the academia where the David and other work. So you don't have to go too far. I mean, we have every single weekend, students are pretty much kind of taking trips and explorations, but you can stay within so many museums. So you can see the academia is one. There's also the Duomo and the cathedral. This is where Brunelleschi discovered linear sight. So it's a wonderful place to always visit. This is where we're about 5-10 minutes away from. It's really nice. Students like to walk here to get some inspiration and for a leisurely walk and grab some gelato and just kind of be in the heart of the Renaissance. There's also the Uffizi, which is where works from Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Michelangelo are all located, as well as architecture, the Ponte Vecchio Bridge to kind of get your creative minds turning. So field trips are pretty much built in, and they're going to be obviously, like we said, the Uffizi and the Academia, but they also go to San Marco, they go to Primo Conti. Field trips are usually led by one of the art history, photography, design, or studio art instructors. They also take field trips outside of Florence. So they'll go to Rome, Milan, Ravenna, Pisa, Lucca, Siena, Fiesole, Vinci, Bologna. You're not just confined within Italy, though. A lot of our students go to Berlin, Amsterdam. There's a lot of museums throughout, of course, within Europe. So a lot of our students take advantage of being so close to these other countries. And there are also always optional field trips that I didn't talk about that are going to be available for students, and they're usually at an extra fee, but a very, very modest fee. And for a lasting connection within community, so this is where we're going to talk about the living in Florence and housing. So living in Florence is an experience within its own. Not only are the super friendly and welcoming, but the city is very walkable and it's easily accessible via airport and trains. And they also have buses. From Florence, you can get to Rome in about an hour and 30 minutes. Rome's south. And from Venice, you can get there in about 2 hours, which is north. There's also the Cinque Terre, very, very close also. If you take a bus, it's usually around like 2 hours, but they have trains that might be a little bit quicker for you as well. And there's always tours going on to visit all these areas. Here you can see our students hanging out in the Piazza Michelangelo, enjoying some of the beautiful views Florence has to offer. So a lot of times our students, and sometimes even the classrooms, you'll be learning art, but a lot of times our professors want to get you out of the classroom and get you actually seeing the art and experience it firsthand. So you can see some of our students are sketching here and just kind of seeing the city skyline of Florence. And it's absolutely breathtaking because you are in Florence, which is going to be, a city, a very cultural city, but also you're in Tuscany. So if you want to get away, it's not really a hustle and bustle like New York City, but there is a little bit of city community feel within Florence. And right next to Florence, there's Tuscany, and it's very, very easily accessible. So if you want to get completely away and not see a building in sight and be within vineyards and greenery, that's very easily accessible as well. And SACI housing is located around the city center of Florence, and all apartments are within local apartment buildings. So therefore, these apartments are SACI housing, have a unique experience of living like a local with the locals. So here you can see one group of apartments are located by the Duomo area. The apartments have very large kitchens, dining rooms, bathrooms, bedrooms, and living rooms. And students are also able to stay in a single or all have Wi-Fi as well as AC and heat. So I included a map here to allow you to see the city center of Florence better and kind of get a sense of where universities are in comparison. Hopefully you can see my mouse right now. Right here, the SACI Studio Arts College International, that is where our grad office, this is where the grad studies are located. And then also over here, Studio Arts College International on this side is going to be our undergrad, and our university offices are located. And then you can see the Santa Maria del Fiore. This is where the Duomo is located. So you can see we're really close. Excuse me. And then also the market, San Lorenzo, which I'll show a photo in the next slide. This is predominantly where a lot of the locals get their produce. There's also a really good food mart up there. And then also over here, you can see the buses that are the trains, excuse me, the train station, which will take you throughout Italy. And you can see the academia right here. So you can see we're really, really, really close to the city center. And here's the Ponte Vecchio Bridge. So everything is very walkable. There's way more on this. This is where all the action goes down. All right. So SACI does not have a cafeteria, just FYI. However, the market we just pointed out, like I just put on that previous map, it's a really, really great place to get fresh produce. As well as, like I mentioned, there's a food hall up top with lots of options. This is also a really good place to practice your Italian. You do not necessarily need to learn Italian for your studies unless you are MA Art History. So if you're getting the master's in art history, you will need to take Italian language courses. And I know it can sound a little overwhelming, but keep in mind when you are living within a city center that, you know, Italian is obviously the main language, you're going to be able to pick it up a lot more frequently because you're consistently hearing the language. So don't be afraid. You'll pick up very quickly. There's also lots of food options around the city as well. I promise you, oh man, anytime I go there, you will not find a place that is not amazing, to say the least. Their pasta is all freshly made. And if you do have gluten allergies or if you have nut allergies, I have spoken with some of our students who have severe allergies, and they say that Florence and just the Italian culture in general is so built upon food that they really, really work around, excuse me, students with food allergies. So please don't be worried if you can't eat pasta or gluten pasta. There is gluten-free pasta there, and they do have things without nuts. So it's definitely beneficial for our students. And then with such large kitchens, lots of students learn to cook with the local produce. And don't be alarmed if your Italian neighbor asks you if you want to learn to make some sauce, because the locals truly are so welcoming and excited to share their culture with you. And of course, make sure to eat gelato. It is heaven, and for some reason it just tastes way different in Italy than anywhere else you can get gelato. It is absolutely amazing. And students are also recommended to take part of the culture on all levels in Florence and at SACI. So it is really common for students to lounge in the squares and to listen to music throughout Florence. Florence is a very safe city, and upon your arrival, you will get contacts of SACI staff for any questions or inquiries you have. So something I like to tell students is we are a US accredited institution and we are NASAD approved, but it's a European model in the sense of we want you to get your education. You have the opportunity to tailor your education because you have these option of courses that you can take, but we also want you to make sure that you go outside the classroom, because sometimes just sitting in a room, you're not going to get the experiences as if you are actually, in the heart experiencing things firsthand. So if you're seeing the artwork firsthand, or you're going and you're visiting these cultural centers and you're seeing different communities and seeing different cultures, that's going to transcribe into your artwork. And we want to kind of have that mentality of, yes, we want you in the studio space, but we are going to close it, whether it's at midnight or later. They don't want you in crunch time working 24/7. They want you to be able to take a break and really absorb your surroundings, because ultimately that's going to benefit your artwork. Taking a breather, stepping away, maybe having a glass of wine and soaking in the beautiful views. You're going to get inspired in different ways and be able to go back to your art and be able to edit it to your perfection. So last but not least, we'll talk real quickly about scholarships. The deadline is March 15th, and our applications are due. So if you are interested in applying for a scholarship, I really recommend you start working on your application ASAP, if you haven't already. The scholarships usually are around per semester. They're going to be around $500 to $2,000, and that's just our general scholarships. There are also outside scholarships not through SACI, that we do accept. And I'll send an email later this evening that's going to have this webinar posted on it, and I'll also include some of those links. What you need for your application is we need your official transcripts, we need 2 letters of recommendation, a personal statement, and a portfolio of about 15 to 20 pieces of work. If you are doing the MA Art History, we're going to ask for 2 original papers. So anything that you've written in the past for art history, that's what we're looking for. If you have one paper that you really want to submit for art history, but you have a few artworks, that's completely fine. For all others, though, we're really looking for the portfolio. So at this time, I'm going to exit out of the presentation a bit, so it might look a little different for you. And I'm going to go see if we have any questions. So if you have any questions, just please feel free to type it in and I will answer them. And if for some reason you're unable to ask the questions within our chat, please feel free to email me and I'll be able to kind of reach out to you as well. Some cool things are, I have been talking with our alumni and some cool places that they are. So individuals who are interested in our art history, we have a lot of alumni who are working within the Brooklyn Museum as assistant conservators, assistant collection manager at the Denver Art Museum. We have individuals in Washington, D.C., who are project assistants in the Smithsonian Cultural Rescue Initiative. Henry Ford Museum, we have a lot of students at. Minneapolis, we have students, Michigan. So there's a lot of alumni throughout for conservation and for art history. We also have quite a few students who are working within the Museum of Modern Art. Some of our students for their BFA or their MFA in studio art, a lot of them go on to be teaching assistants or having their own studio spaces. Something I didn't get a chance to talk about was in your second semester as an MFA student, you actually have the opportunity to be a TA. So if you are interested in pursuing teaching, you'll have that opportunity to be a teacher's assistant and have that experience as well. We also talked about how you have minimum of 2 gallery exhibitions. Keep in mind, majority of our students, they'll have about 5. So it's something different, and that kind of differentiates us from other institutions is the fact that you'll have quite a few international European gallery openings. Okay, so we have one question. For the do you have applications before every fall semester? So how our semester works is we only accept students in the fall. So if you are applying for any program, they're going to start in the fall. And they'll be fall, spring, and then fall, spring. Except for the MA Art History, we only accept students in the fall, and that program will be the fall, spring, late spring, and summer courses. So it's going to be one consecutive year. Hello, I would like to ask you that if there are any opportunities as part-time jobs, great question. So, are there any opportunities as part-time jobs within the institute? We become assistants in some courses. So, part-time jobs, it depends on the visa. So, traditionally, students are only allowed, with the visa, this scholastic visa, you're only allowed to work about 10 to 20 hours a week. So, part-time opportunities within our institution is going to be posted on our website. Unfortunately, the TAs are not going to be paid, but you do get credit for them. Traditionally, it's about 3 credits for each course. So you can become assistants in some courses. You will have to apply for that, but they will not be paid. They'll be coursework. One in which I'm planning on renting an apartment, bringing my spouse and dog. Are there places to rent inside independent? Yes. Okay. So for our students, if you want to stay within that is completely fine. Other students, traditionally, if you are coming over with a spouse or with animals or things of that nature, we do help you find housing. So, because it's up to you if you want to have to. Traditionally, they just kind of stay in their own housing off campus. So, what it will be is we'll help you kind of find outside apartments that students previously have worked with, and I can direct you to our housing director who can help. And traditionally, that's usually what they do. And we'll help you to make sure that there's not, like you're not putting a deposit on an apartment complex that, is a scam. So we're here to help you find housing. But we do have SACI housing available. Traditionally, grad students, they do stay for, the first semester to kind of get an idea of Florence. But since it is in the city center of Florence, some graduate students after the first semester, after the first year, some stay for the full 2 years. Sometimes they kind of want to get out of Florence and out of the city center, and they find their own housing. For MA Art History, what is the admissions process and admissions rate like? Okay, great question. So, for all programs, we'll talk about this. So, traditionally, cohort is about 12 students we accept. So that's going to be for all of the courses. There is some flexibility to have it, range higher, but traditionally we look for about 12 students in each cohort. The admissions process, traditionally you're going to send in all of your documents. First, you need to complete your application. There is a $70 application fee. So you're going to submit that application, and then you're going to submit your transcript, recommendation, personal statements, and your portfolio. Once our deans and our program directors review our students, then there's a second round of interviews, which is going to be through Skype. So something I'll send out also is that we do currently right now have portfolio review dates listed on our website. So you can actually go ahead and speak with the program directors. And if you have questions on your portfolio, you can talk to them now before you submit your application. Upon your application, though, if you do make it to the Skype, the one-on-one phone call, this is really beneficial for you to get to know our program even more in depth, and for our program deans to kind of get understanding of who you are and understand what you're interested in, so they can kind of begin initiating a course schedule for you. Not necessarily a course schedule because you're going to choose it yourself, but they can have an idea of where you're at in relation to what you want to be. I hope that makes sense. And the admissions rate, it's really hard to speak to that because it's usually going to be in regards to who the students are. So it's really on a case by case basis. Is there a quota for the MA in art history? I'm not sure what you mean by that. We just have about 12 students tops that we can accept each fall. If you mean quota, I'm reading this as because do we have to admit a certain amount of students? But we don't. Just traditionally, there's 12 tops that we'll accept. I'll also send an email that's going to give you a link to all of our courses. So I think it's pretty interesting that you are going to be coming here as, if you're applying for MFA Studio Art, program you're applying for MFA Communication Design or photography, there are courses you will be mandated to take. However, I want you to keep in mind that you also have the opportunity to really dive into other mediums as well. Oh, I see. Okay, great. I'm glad we answered that. Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag, so I'm hoping you guys are able to hear me and this is kind of making sense. Is it easy to get back into the city if you decide to live outside of Florence? Yes, so Florence is very easily accessible by bus. There are also trains. So it's very easy to get around. We do advise, traditionally when our students are going on, the trips. So that's kind of why the first semester you'll really get a sense of Florence. You'll be going on field trips throughout. And the program directors are always with you or the faculty members. So you'll get a sense of, taking the bus and how the metro system works there. So there's a lot of things that you'll pick up on and it'll be very comfortable for you. I do also want to let you know that Florence is pretty safe. It's very safe. We haven't really had any student issues in regards to safety. It is a very friendly community as well. I mean, when I was there, I was walking around by myself at the evening time, and it's kind of like if you've been to New York City or a big city, how there's individuals walking around at nighttime. It's very prevalent, and it's very, very safe. There's lighting, and it's very easily to get around. We bring spouses, will they be able to come on trips with the class? So that is going to be dependent on the spots available. So that's something traditionally how it works is for, like, let's say it's a required trip that is mandatory for all MA Art History students to take. So we have a designated amount of spots. And then once there are spots available, it's listed on a first come, first served basis. Now for the spouses, it may be different because you are, as a student at SACI, you're paying for student fees, which are usually going to be incorporated within that trip. So therefore, there might be some extra costs that come with your spouse. That's something that you'll have to kind of talk about as case by case basis when you get to Florence. But the nice thing is, our institution is fairly small, so it's a community feel. So you'll be able to really have a chance to talk to people, and you won't get the runaround over there. So you'll get concrete answers, and they're pretty accommodating. I will let you know, our undergraduate, traditionally we have, for the study abroad, usually about 250 students each semester. So there are a lot of opportunities for the teaching. So you'll be working in larger class settings. There are cool field trips, like if you've ever heard of the Carrera Mountains, or if you're interested in sculpture or taking a class in sculpture, students get a chance to go to the Carrera Mountains, which is known as the White Marble Mountains. So I'm sure you've seen like the New York Public Library and what the David is made out of. That's the trip that you'll go on, and you actually get to choose your own Carrera marble to work with for sculpture. Okay, now some questions. This is the most exciting program. Yes, it really is. And I'm speaking from the heart because I got a chance to go over there and sit in on the classes for about 2 weeks over the summer. And the faculty really love what they're doing. And that's something that was really inspiring to me and is kind of allowing me to kind of talk to you all in a really personal manner because I've kind of had a chance to experience the program. And if you ever have questions, they're there for you. Whether it's, art related, whether it's career related, whether it's travel related, whether it's food related, or trying to find a great shopping center, they're all super accommodating. And they're here to make sure that you get an education, and you're getting an education to make a difference in the world. And like I said, I'll send you guys a link to this webinar. I'll also attach, I have some student blogs that I'd like to send to you all. So if you want to kind of see from the student and, not hear from myself or from a program director, you kind of want to hear it from the students, I'll send you that too. So you can kind of see some of our student blogs and they kind of talk about their trips. I'll also send you our events. So we have gallery openings throughout Italy as well as within New York City. So where we're located is in New York City, and we traditionally have gallery openings every 3 months. So if you are interested, after you are an alumni, if you're interested in having an exhibition in New York City, you can actually apply for it. And it is kind of like a grant-esque type way where you'll have a certain amount of funds and we'll be able to kind of create your artwork and you can actually sell it as well. We have an individual asking about, so this is for general too. So I've only taken a few survey art history classes. I don't know if I feel prepared enough to pursue my master's yet. Should I take more classes after I prepare? So this is where it's kind of up to your own discretion, but I do want to let you know that regardless of what major you're interested in, so I'll talk first to MA art history though to answer this question. If you have taken at least some art history classes, that's going to be beneficial. So what we're looking for is you don't have to have a major in art history in order to pursue a master's in art history with us. What we're looking for is your writing. So that's where the original papers come in handy, as well as your personal statement. So we will look for art courses that you've taken, and we do want to see that you've had some experience, whether it's in the classroom or outside the classroom. That's also where your resume and that personal statement really come in to play. So let's say maybe you've only taken a few art history classes, but you worked at a museum. That's going to obviously be something that is going to set you apart and is going to be beneficial because you have some other experience. It's kind of on a case by case. I know I keep saying that, but the dean's review. And if you've taken some art history classes, it's going to be really, really beneficial. For MFA studio art classes, there is the post bac in studio art and post bac in conservation, which is for students who are really making a transition and don't really have much experience at all. And that's kind of to get ready and get prepared to go on to grad school. So we can always talk at a later date to kind of go over your transcript and see what it is that you have and maybe what you're concerned about. Otherwise, I suggest that you sign up for one of our portfolio review days and you can talk with the program director and kind of see what they have to say. Because ultimately, it's the program director that makes the final decisions. And I'll send it in a link, but since I have it right here, I figured it might be easy to just kind of send that link. So if you click on the admissions webinars, obviously we're doing a webinar right now. You have to scroll all the way down. But if you hit on the portfolio review schedule, you can see post bac and conservation. You can make reservations. It's on so post bac, and I'll just talk about this real quick. So post bac conservation, they are going to be on October 18th and November 7th, and they run from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and they're usually about 30-minute conversations. And it's just kind of discuss the program, any questions you have to kind of get a feel for it, or if you have any questions about, this is my portfolio, this is the experience I have, and you want to ask them if they feel like you're a great candidate or things of that nature, that's completely fine. This is going to be a good opportunity for that. MFA Communication Design, that's going to be also October 18th and November 9th, and that's going to be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And this is all going to be CET, so it's time zone. But it's all going to be Central European time. So just FYI. There's also MFA Studio Art, which is going to be October 26th and November 26th. And that's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So you'll definitely want to see what time this is in your area, because I know we're all, throughout the US, throughout the world. So it's definitely going to be more of seeing what time works for you. And if for some reason these times do not work, please let me know. And if you are interested in scheduling a time to speak with the program directors, and I can let them know, and we can kind of get in correspondence because they are willing to speak with you ahead of time. MA in Art History, that's going to be October 16th and November 13th from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And MFA in Photography is going to be October 18th and October 25th from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And we're still working on other dates as well. So there should be more. So I'll hang out for a few more moments. If you have any further questions, please let me know. I'm just going to hang out here. Otherwise, that pretty much concludes our webinar. Um, Further questions, we can go on about the list of where our alumni work. I know some of our students were interested in communication design, and a lot of them. The nice thing about our communication design program is that there's infographics, there's design, there's illustration, there's video routes that you can take. It kind of goes through the whole poster design as well. So individuals work at Walt Disney and in Imagineering. We have students who are working as like PR assistants, Jacobs, National Geographic. They work at GQ Magazine, Nickelodeon Animation. So there's a lot of different routes that you can go for that program as well. And thank you. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you may be. And like I said, further questions, please let me know. All right, great. Thank you all so much. All right. Thank you all. Good evening. I'll be signing off now. So, any questions, reach back out to me and take care.